Hello everybody, my name is Imanithos, and welcome back to Warframe in a Nutshell. Today we're going to be talking about Baruuk. And as you can see, there's been some really big changes to the Simulacrum. It's now a Voidscape, which is beautiful, by the way. We're going to be going in here, and we're going to be showcasing, as per our usual, what this Warframe is good at. Not level 100, that would be insane. Nope. And level 30. Something I should probably do beforehand is I should probably let you know what kind of gear I'm using. So, first of all, we're using Baruuk, which is the new Warframe that came out with Fortuna Part 2. It's available from Vox Solaris once you hit I think rank 3 with them. What we got is the Aphona Prime. So, before Aphona Prime. Baruuk. 150 armor, 300 energy, 225 health, 300 shield. Not all that bad, but one of the lower health Warframes in the game. Something to consider. This is his standard Forma loadout, as I have not done anything with him besides put a reactor in him. This is the Aphona Prime actually for that matter. The Aphona Prime is a fairly strong gun. Just gonna say that. It's a very strong gun. A 30% standard critical chance, and then the buckshot is a 30% status chance. So they kind of swap out from being a crit to a status weapon. So you can kind of build a hybrid. I'm also using the Guandao with the skin on it, which is pretty pretty. The Guandao is a fairly well-known crit weapon, so most people run it for its crit ability. And then, of course, Baruuk's fist weapon, Desert Wind. Now, as you can see, it has an insanely high critical chance at 50%. With the right mods, you can get over 100% fairly easily, which I can showcase a little bit later. Now, Baruuk has some odd abilities. His first ability is called Elude. It's a toggled ability, and since these guys are not going to be my friends right now, I'm just going to pop shot them away. So, we'll go ahead and show off with the ability. So Elude is dodge all incoming projectiles, but not while attacking. So you can use it to deactivate it. It's a 180 degree angle, so anything from a cone in front of you at 180 degrees isn't too bad. It's a 2.5 energy drain per second. And again, it doesn't save people from explosions or anything or anything else like that. Any AoE type damage or effect will still affect Baruuk, even while using his Elude, so that's something to consider. Now, when he's using Elude, his restraint meter starts to go down. And if you look over here on the right-hand side, right above my Aphona Prime's ammo, you'll see the restraint meter. The more that goes down, the higher your damage reduction goes. Which, I'm going to double-check here real fast to make sure I have this quite right. There we go. Okay. It's always important to have the information up and available to people so they can get the absolute totals. So, each attack evaded through Elude, which is your first ability, erodes 0.6% of the meter. And when you completely deplete the meter, you get up to 50% damage resistance. Now, again, this is standard. So we're going to go ahead here, kill all these enemies, unpause their AI, and simulate more. Activate Elude and go in here. As you can see, pretty easy. But if I turn my back, I take damage. Because the cone only extends from Baruuk's facing point. Now 180 degrees is still a fairly good amount of distance. Now if I turn around, you'll see that I'll take damage. Now my next ability is Lull. Lull slowly puts people into a sleep state, very similar to Equinox or any of the other frames in the game. It has a fairly good AoE effect, and I'm going to kill all these guys off here quick, pause AI, and bring some more back. As you can see, kind of a weak force, but no, Lull, when activated, slowly but surely puts everyone into a sleep mode. And I can go around each one of these guys now. No, maybe not all of them. There we go. Just to go ahead and assassinate all of them now. It's a great way of getting a good amount of experience, affinity, especially because you can do stealth kills for days. Now you can't recast Lull, your second ability, until its a glyph timer has kind of elapsed. Something to remember for yourself in later times. But it is still a fantastic skill to use in conjunction with your first ability, Elude, in order to kind of prevent you from having to worry about taking damage when you're attacking. Now, Elude and Lull. Lull takes about 50 energy to cast. It has a 25-meter radius from cast. The duration that the Lull's glyph lasts is 5 seconds. And then the duration of the sleep is 20 seconds. Just to keep that in mind. Now, I do not know if there's anything in particular that, how it goes. Let's see here. Now, while Baruuk is using his Elude, you cannot restore energy by using Energy Vampire, Rift Plains Innate, or any kind of energy gaining ones. Can be replenished, of course, being replenished by energy orbs and so on and so forth. That's pretty much it. Okay, so about Elude has no real tips and tricks, it doesn't look like. But it does need to remember that if you want to get the full 360-degree degree of evasion, you have to have a 200% ability range or higher. So something to keep in mind about that. Now, Lull, once again, calming wave, slows enemies until they fall into a slumber. Enemies awakened, enemies awakened by damage will be confused and disoriented. Short-term amnesia means all weakened enemies forget anything that happened before the lull. So, in the middle of battle, everyone hates you. You cast Lull, now they're all stealth kills. Every single one of them, because they forgot what happened previously, which is fantastic. Now, for every enemy hit by this ability, you erode your restraint by 0.81%. So more so than just doing the dodge, but it only is a one-time effect. Now, if you have a lower duration, Lull can be cast more often, but it also sleep works is less useful. Now we'll move on to our next one, Desolate Hands. Summon a bevy of orbiting daggers to seek out enemy guns, destroying them with a small explosion, combined with Elude to double the range. Now if you look here, the radius is 6 meters from me. The explosion range is 3 meters from the gun. The number of charges I summon is 8. The area damage is 250 damage to a small AoE, and the damage reduction I gain total is 80%. So, we'll go and summon our enemies back up again. Good thing I only summon 8 at a time. This is perfect. Alright, so we're going to summon these guys. As you can see now, they are... There's a small delay between each one of them going off. Let's get close enough to you to break your weapon. Now they're all coming after me. I can resummon more. Now these will actively go after their melee weapons as well as their primary weapons. So now they're all standing around having to deal with that. So, we're going to showcase Baruuk's fourth ability right now, since we have the ability to. So now I have no other things to do but... Yes, you just saw that correctly. So, Baruuk basically has a stance that allows him on slide attacks. He makes enemies and enemies' bodies float into the air. On slam attacks, he creates a big, nice symbol on the ground. And otherwise, he creates these pretty big AoE smack sticks. And he can't use a charge quote unquote attack like most melee weapons can. They just kind of do this. And as you can see, it doesn't drain my energy, but it does restore my restraint with every second of use. So, what is the full power of this? Well, I'll explain. So basically you get your normal attack still between 100 and 250 damage within 2 meters. Now the problem with Desert Wind is that you do not gain... Here, I'll bring this up for everyone so they can look at the abilities themselves. The problem with how Desert Wind works is that you don't get combo stats from hitting enemies with the AoE energy wave, which is a little bit frustrating. But the energy waves do have punch through, which means they can go through solid walls, which is actually quite good. Now, the wall attacks and slide attacks will deal between 300 and 750 damage with each strike. The damage is evenly distributed between impact, puncture, and slash. With aerial attacks, so aerial attacks when you're up in the air and punching will do 200 to 500 damage, and then slam attacks deal 300 damage in a 5-meter range. So it's kind of cool. Attacks and energy waves have a 200% critical multiplier with a 50% crit chance and a 10% status chance. So even if we look at his layout of Desert Wind, you'll notice that there's no status chance on this according to it. But according to everything else, the attacks and the energy waves have a 10% chance, 10% status chance. So there you go. Now once again to remember is that it's super hard to get combos with any combo rate counters with Baruuk's Desert Wind because the energy waves do not proc the combo counter to stack, if you notice what we were doing. So that's a little frustrated. There are no Riven mods for it. Oh, and there's also ground. You can also do finisher attacks as well, which are kind of cool. You will also auto-block any frontal attacks while Serene Storm is active. And so when you're just running around, you'll actually automatically block weapon abilities. Weapons, just in general, from coming at you, which is kind of cool. You can cast the other abilities while you're using it, but you can't use any of your weapons. So, there's really no tips and tricks beyond that. Now, there is one other thing, and you might have noticed it, actually, when you were looking at his abilities here, is that Desolate Hands gets double the range when you have a Lewd active. It's kind of a cool little feature, but here's one thing that I point out to a lot of players. A Lewd is great for stopgap measures when you're running to save an ally from death, but it's not that good of an idea if you're actively trying to be tankish or trying to be DPS-ish. It's mostly good for farming when you're out in the Plains of Eidolon or if you're out in Fortuna and you don't want to be bothered by weapons fire or enemies coming at you. Just drop on a Lewd with maximum range, and guess what? You can just kind of do your mining and your fishing and you're fine. No one can hurt you. But really beyond that, a Lewd is kind of in an odd place because it's really not all that useful. But granted, it is a first ability, which means if you're going to go do level up and when you go to level up Baruuk and you form him, really easy just to sit in Hydron or some other place and just kind of walk through it and not get hurt. It's a great way of actually getting the affinity that you need to level him up without having to worry about, dealing a whole bunch of damage or being killed by random things because you basically can just ignore most forms of damage. The biggest problem with a Lewd, however, as I mentioned previously, is that AoE booms still hurt you. So, the Bursas, the Bombards, any high-ranking enemy that usually has some form of AoE is smacked out, which means Baruuk is not going to be useful with those. It's sadly true, but that's how it works out. Also, Noxes kind of tend to kick his butt really hard with a Lewd. Alright. So, with all that said and done, what is his scaling? What's important about it? We saw that he had a really hard struggle with level 30 enemies. So what does that mean for his endgame? well, I'll show you the economy build first that we'll build for him. A build that, though granted, if you have picked up Baruuk, unless you pick him up through the store, you probably have a pretty good amount of mods to begin with. But let's say you don't. Let's say this is the bare minimum you can do. So let's go ahead and throw an energy siphon, because why not? We'll go ahead and we'll throw on vitality and steel fiber, because again, why not? We'll throw on our intensify for more power strength, as per our usual, our continuity for more duration. Yeah, these mods you should at least have and have fairly well. We'll do augur message for some more duration. We'll do streamline for some efficiency. I feel like I have a flow, so there's the flow. There's flow for more energy, and stretch for more range. So kind of as usual, a general overall purpose build. Now, we look at his abilities, and also we see, of course, everything's crazy much better, right? Elude only costs 18. It's a 1.4 energy, 1.14 energy per drain per second. It's a 280. Wow, I can't talk this morning. Degree angle, which is fantastic. Lull lasts for 7 seconds. Duration for sleep is 30. Its radius is 36. Desolate Hand's radius is 8.7 meters for the daggers to fly off. You get 10 charge up to 90% damage reduction. Good AoE damage, good range. Serene Storm gives you 32% damage reduction and 325 damage. You know, that's all fantastic. You can see the changes are really impressive, right? Now, we'll once again show our 8 Lancers. Here, make sure to pick up our energy. Drop Elude to get into the group. Drop Lull. And now everybody's asleep. Well, mostly everybody. And just ba-doop. There we go. Stealth finisher. I'm sure many of you are like, wait, hold up. We want to see you actually fight these guys. Okay. Desolate Hands. See, they're out of range. These are not working, but now if I use my elude, deactivate that. As you can see, pretty sad amount of damage, right? Now if I activate Baruuk's Serene Storm, for example, we see that it's still not as important as you can see to raise your power strength for it. Sadly, unfortunately, and I apologize. But if we modify Desert Winds, so let's go ahead and once again, you probably have obtained the sacrificial mods, but we'll say you haven't, just for sake of argument. So we'll do True Steel and Pressure Point and Organ Shatter. That's 80% chance of crits. Number 1. We'll also do Fury for some increased attack speed. Reach for increased range. That's the Guardian of Focus Defense. And then we have Life Strike. Not going to use those. You do Jagged Edge and Buzzkill for an incredibly high amount of slash, but is it going to proc status? This is probably the question many of you are asking, like, will it proc status? And I'm going to add this on here just to kind of show you that, once again, this is not going to improve your status chance. But it's a crit build, right? It's a crit build that most people can understand. So we're going to go and simulate these guys here. Get in. Well, then take some pot shots at me. Activate Desert Wind. Now, this enemy is 10 meters away. This one is 16. $18, $16, something like that. Completely annihilates them. Completely annihilates them. And that's from a simple, very basic build on the matter of, durations. So let's go ahead and make this truly ridiculous. So we'll remove all the mods. Put on Sacrificial Steel, Sacrificial Pressure. This is 95% critical chance. Remember that. We'll also do Primed Reach, as per our normal prerogative, and Prime Fury. And we'll go ahead and we'll put on Gladiator Might. And I believe Organ Strike is Organ Shatter is that. So that has a 5 times multiplier at 95%, and it's a 15% increase in critical chance multiplier per combo. Now, with Baruuk's build, we will remove a couple things and add on some Gladiator mods. Once again, to further push this. So we'll get rid of Streamline, for example. We'll get rid of Stretch and Continuity. Put on Gladiator Finesse, Gladiator Resolve, and Gladiator Aegeus. This brings up to a 45% critical chance multiplier per combo. Sound fair? Good, it's about to get ridiculous. So that's just the mods for this stuff. So watch. We'll go ahead and pump up the volume. Simulate these guys. Activate my elude. Go in. Okay. So got all them, right? 2,000. They're pretty much eradicated. So many of you go, oh, well, okay, 2,000, and that's still not great, but it's not bad, right? Right? Well, here's where things get a little bit more interesting. So we're going to pump up the enemy level to about 100. Just to kind of play test exactly how much power we're going to be getting from this. So this is going to be doing about 600 damage per hit to them. And to the sleepers, a lot more. As you can see, frustratingly so, is the fact that you really can't get that combo counter, right? And that's probably the biggest problem right now with Baruuk, is that his energy waves do not grant him that increased combo counter, which he desperately needs. So if any DE member manages to actually watch this video, which is very unlikely, I want to point that out to you. If you're going to have a weapon that has this incredible knockback, and you have so many ways of making this crit build that is absolutely out of this world, do not make it so that the energy waves that come off of his fist do not proc combo counter. It's a little ridiculous, especially as you can spin them up into the air and then combo them up into the air and basically juggle them for days. It seems a little ridiculous. Now, as I was mentioning, that's pretty much Baruuk in a nutshell. Everything you should need to know about him. modifying him with the Gladiator mod, which a lot of people are like, oh, Gladiator is amazing. For him, it's really not. Although Gladiator might is good for that extra damage from his crits, really, even from a fully modified standpoint, his Desert Wind is kind of sad because it doesn't gain that buff from the combo counter that it should. And even if, and you're like, oh, whoa, hold up, you're not building him correctly because he needs to have more power strength. Okay. I'll throw on every bit of power strength I can. Okay? Every bit of power strength I can. Which is really not a whole lot. I will say that. Transient Fortitude, I believe, is another one I need. So, poop, 270%. We throw down Power Drift, we get to 285%. But with this Energy Orb one, it's going to make some pretty big differences, which you'll see. So we'll go ahead and throw on Prime Vigor just to kind of have some extra stuff there. Now my abilities are going to have 22 charges for that, large area damage, and 712% damage for my fists. Right? Should make a big difference. It really doesn't. So we'll simulate this. We'll do that. There, that would be about right. Okay, now I think I have enough restraint active that I can actually do something with this. So we're going to go ahead, grab those, and activate Desert Storm. So remember, this is Desert Storm with all the power. Look at that. Still only 1,000 damage that can be dealt to these level 100 Lancers. Level 100 Lancers. Which means, realistically, he plays best as a tank, and that's really all he can be. His damage output just isn't high enough. It would be better if he just had something that he could work with, you know, that combo counter could make him incredibly powerful. But because he can't use it, his fist weapon, Desert Storm, is a little bit lackluster. So I want to plead to people who buy Baruuk from the store, play him as much as you can, because he probably will go through some reworks in the upcoming days. But right now, Baruuk's kind of in this place that he's more for passive play. He's for farming, he's for fishing, he's for running around low-level missions and supporting people. He's really not for damage. So remember that when you modify him. I greatly recommend you modify him just for pure, absolute, ridiculous range. Like I have, that's my farming build. So we'll go here and we'll just remove all of these, and I'll build him for complete total range. Just give me a second. So boom. And we'll go overextended, wherever that went. There it is, boom. And we'll come over here and we'll go for reach and stretch. Whoever stretches, stretch? Your stretch? Nope, your rush, okay. Stretch, 265, grab myself my Cunning Drift for that 280% range. And build yourself defensive. Grab yourself adaptation or rolling guard. I would recommend adaptation if you have it. Or, you know, if you don't have any of those because, you know, obviously you're poor, grab yourself some Prime Vigor, grab yourself some Armored Agility, grab yourself some Duration, so some continuity is good, you know, maybe even some Augur Message, or where the heck did it go? Constitution. We probably can't do that one. Okay, so yeah, just go ahead and grab yourself a Augur Message, and there you go. 179% duration, 280% range, and guess what? You're going to have Perfect Elude, by the way. You're going to have Desolate Hands, which is going to have great range, but you really don't need Desolate Hands so much as you need it for the lull. A 70-meter radius of sleep. Fantastic. Now, of course, you can go for something a little bit less duration-based, something a little bit less rangy, go for a little bit more power swing, get yourself a list of hands that actually can give you some damage reduction, build yourself more tank. That's fine. There's two ways you can play him, tank and support. Mix the two a little bit, make a tank support, but really, those are his two roles. He doesn't do DPS, which is fine. He's supposed to be a Reluctant Warrior, and I appreciate that. So, I lost train of thought for some. Anyways, everyone have a great time with this guy. Again, he comes, you pick him up from Vox Solaris. It will be after you get yourself your operator mode, after you fight the Orb Mothers, which are endgame tier, so you should have some endgame mods. And you have to spend quite a bit of resources on building him. He's pretty intensive, which is sad. But basically, you pick him up from the Vox Solaris. His main blueprint costs 5,000, and then all of his parts only cost 5,000. You're gonna need some Taurids. You're gonna need some Fists. You're gonna need some Zodians. You're gonna need some Entroplasms. So look out for those little what do they call them? The little rare fish in the caves. There's two of them. There's guys. You're gonna need the other one. The little smallest Synethids. They're going to pick up a lot of Synethids for this. And, of course, it's just Ferrite Savage and Alloy Plate. But just remember, if you are not a fan of tanking, if you're not a fan of being a support, don't pick up Baruuk. Unless it's just for Mastery. Because he's not going to be your playstyle. So, everybody, thank you so much for watching. And I know this has been a longer video. And I will hopefully see you guys all in my next video, which should be another boss frame. So, until then, everybody, have a great rest of your week. And I will thank you so much for watching.